Palmer Show. You are now listening to The Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Locking down the middle of the day. Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studios. This is Hunt Palmer.
Welcome in to the Hunt Palmer Show here on a Wednesday edition, April 17th. Not Hunt Palmer here, Taylor Sharp here with you for the next 2 hours. Sometimes things happen in live radio, guys. Sometimes people are a little bit under the weather, which is what's going on with Hunt. I got a text about 8 a.m. and was like, hey, be prepared to pivot. The middle of your day is going to change a little bit. I need you to pinch hit for me. And that's exactly what we're doing for our guy, Hunt Palmer. So Taylor Sharp here with you for the next 2 hours. We got Jacob Beck on the audio board and Cassie Spazzali making this happen over there on video, getting us up on YouTube. Pretty packed show for you, despite the fact that we had this on short notice. Next segment, as Hunt does every Wednesday at 1:15, we're going to talk to Koki Riley. We're going to kind of get a temperature gauge on what his feeling is with this LSU baseball team. They get a win last night. They will play Missouri this weekend. We'll get Koki's thoughts on all of that. Then in 2 o'clock, at 1:45, we're actually going to be joined by Preston Guy of TigerBait.com. Now, Preston normally comes on with Hunt at that Friday segment. He couldn't make Friday, so Preston had to pivot as well as Hunt. So Preston's going to be with us at 1:45. In the 2 o'clock hour, we are going to talk a little New Orleans Saints, get some mock draft stuff there. We will play What If Wednesday at 2:15. We're going to have to shift that around because of Preston's limited availability. And then, as we do every day, we will close it out with Take It or Leave It. So a jam-packed show for you, but I do want to start where every show today on this station will start, and that's recapping the New Orleans Pelicans Los Angeles Lakers game from last night. So the Pelicans come in as the 7, the Lakers are the 8. The winner gets the 7 seed. They lock up their spot. They have a date with the Denver Nuggets, and that goes to the Los Angeles Lakers. They defeat the Pelicans 110-106 in a game that was close in the first quarter, but there was a big second quarter run from the Los Angeles Lakers. That gave you a pretty decent deficit at halftime. However, you were able to fight back. You had a big third quarter. You made it tight down the stretch in the fourth quarter of that game. I mean, you were tied at home with 5 minutes to go in an NBA game. Winner takes on the Nuggets in the playoffs. If you're a Pelicans fan and you're like, okay, we're tied with 5 minutes to go at home, I'm taking that every single day of the week. You got that exact scenario, and it didn't pay off for you. And the box score kind of tells the tale of this game. So Zion Williamson was great in that game, even though he missed the last 3 minutes because of injury. We'll get into that a little bit later. Spoiler alert, it's not great news. But Zion goes off. I mean, he has 40 points, 11 rebounds, 5 assists. Just 3 turnovers in that game. He was excellent. It was everyone else around Zion. Now, Brandon Ingram played 25 minutes, only 11 points, shot 4 for 12, and had 4 rebounds. Now, Ingram, this is only his second game back from injury. I mean, if you remember, he missed about 3 weeks with a knee injury in his own right. And, you know, he just looked rusty out there, as expected. And the rest of the team, it just seemed like they were trying to get Ingram a little bit too involved. Everything seemed a little bit janky. He's been out of the lineup. You've had Trey Murphy in there instead. You make the switch back to Ingram. The flow of the game seemed messed up from the start for the Pelicans. Herb Jones, you know, Herb did what he did. He had 10 points. He played some solid defense in 35 minutes. Valanciunas, we talked about this when I was hosting for OTV about 2 weeks ago. You got to get Valanciunas involved. Coming into this game, you were 6-6 in your last 12 games. You were 4-6 in games where Valanciunas played 20 or more minutes. So if he plays 20 or more, you had 4 wins, 2 losses in your last 6. When Valanciunas played less than 20 minutes, you had 4 losses out of 6 games. So it was a complete 180. He gets that 20-minute mark. Very inefficient, though. He's only 1 for 7. He finishes with just 4 points. Now, he did have 10 rebounds, but no blocks. His defense was limited in this game. He was just rough. It was rough for everyone. CJ McCollum, we talked just a second ago about Brandon Ingram's, limited minutes. What's he going to get? He's rusty coming back from injury. CJ McCollum is a guy that I really would have liked to have seen step up in this game. It didn't happen. He was 4 for 15, just 1 for 9 from 3. Finished with 9 points, 6 assists, 3 rebounds. Now, everybody that came in, with the exception of Dyson Daniels off the bench, got you double digits. Larry Nance, he had 10 and 12. Jose Alvarado, just 10 points, but we know what his defense was, and he was great as a distributor. 7 assists last night. Trey Murphy, he played 31 minutes. He had 12 points, 4 rebounds. Just that starting five that you rolled out there, it was janky all game. It was a little discombobulated. And again, part of that is because you put Brandon Ingram back in that starting lineup, and he's been rusty. He hasn't played with these guys in about 3 weeks. They had a nice little groove going with Trey Murphy, and you changed that up. And, it's a game when you look at it, you beat the Lakers in every single category except 2 really important ones. They dominated you in 3-point percentage, and they dominated you from the free throw line. In close games like that, in the NBA playoffs, 3-point shooting and being aggressive and getting to the free throw line is paramount. You didn't do either of those things. In terms of pure field goal percentage, you outshot them 46% to 41%. But you were just 9 for 30 from 3 for 30%. The Lakers, on the other hand, 14 of 35. That's 40% clip. And the free throw line, we talked about it a little bit this morning on OTB. T-Bob had a deeper dive into it about the free throw disparity against the Lakers and the Pelicans. Look, you got to expect that. LeBron James, Anthony Davis, the Lakers, they're going to get all the calls, whether it's at home or on the road. And it wasn't just the amount of times the Lakers got to the line. They shot 26 of 29 from the stripe. 89%. You, on the other hand, just 11 of 15, 73%. Because if you look at the rest of the box score and you say, okay, we have 30 assists, the Lakers have 24. You have 23 fast break points, the Lakers have 19. The Pelicans had a 62 to 36 advantage in terms of points in the paint, and you lose this game. And a big part why, again, the 3-point percentage, the shots from the free throw line. What do you always say? You want to make more free throws than your opponent attempts. That's what the Lakers did. They made 26 free throws last night. The Pelicans only attempted 15. So while that's all certainly a big story, the biggest story now is what happened to Zion Williamson late in the game. I mentioned it. He was excellent out there, but he missed the last 3 minutes. And at the time, they called it left leg soreness. And, everybody's going to sit there and say, oh, okay, same old with Zion Williamson. A minor injury keeping him out. Well, it seems that injury is a little bit more serious. Adrian Wojnarowski actually tweeted about 10 to 15 minutes ago that Zion Williamson actually has a hamstring injury. He will miss the game on Friday, the must-win game against the Sacramento Kings. And that's what worries me so much about this game. Because, look, are you upset that you lost last night's game? Sure, but you got to put it behind you. You played LeBron James and Anthony Davis. I get it. LeBron is still 38 years old, but he's still LeBron James, right? I mean, at times when he wants to and he kicks it into that gear, he's still the best player on the court any given night. I mean, you watch plays he made last night. I'm sitting there, scoffing at the TV a little bit, but then I start thinking to myself, I'm like, it's almost hard to be mad at this because what are you supposed to do? I mean, you see LeBron at 39 years old running out there making plays like he's 29, running past guys. You saw him take 2 charges against Zion Williamson in that game. When's the last time you've seen LeBron stand there in the paint and take a charge? Everything you needed from him last night, you got. So while you hate losing that game, you get it. It's LeBron, it's Anthony Davis, it's the Lakers. It was going to be a tough out. But you play this Kings team on Friday. You're down Zion Williamson. You don't know what you're going to get from Brandon Ingram. He's clearly still not 100%. He was rusty as heck last night. And you're playing a Kings team that not only are they very comparable to you, because if you look at how they play, they're a little bit of a younger team, kind of like you. They're a good 3-point shooting team. They play pretty good defense. They get a lot of production from their bench. They're not very dissimilar from you. They're also a team that you're 5-0 against this season. So think about that real quick. You're 5-0 against a team that is very comparable to you, has a similar record that you do, and those 5 games do not matter. It all comes down to a must-win game in the Smoothie King Center on Friday night. So you can go 5-1 against the Sacramento Kings, and it's not going to matter. That's what worries me. This team, a month and a half ago, were fighting for a 4 seed. Now you're in a must-win, back against the wall game against a team that You've dominated all year, but it may not matter if you don't win this last game. It just seems like the Pelicans are destined for the play-in. Again, you're knocking on the door of a 4 seed. You're right there at the 5 line. What happens? Brandon Ingram goes down. You go 6-6 in the last 12 games. You kind of stay afloat, right? But you lose Zion Williamson in a game that, going down the stretch of the fourth quarter, you had already made your comeback. You had already battled back from the Lakers run. This was a game that you really looked like you were going to win. You dropped the heartbreaker at home against a team that I believe you're better than, and you're a lot younger than. You should have been the fresher team in that game. You were not. Now you have to play a young, hungry Kings team that wants to avenge the 5 losses that you have given them this season without your most dominant player in Zion Williamson. And your number 2 guy, Brandon Ingram, is still recovering from an injury and looked really rusty last night. You're going to need a big game from CJ McCollum, but can you get it? I mean, it wasn't just last night. The last few games, I mean, CJ's had a good game sprinkled in there, but he struggled a little bit. His age is certainly starting to show here down the stretch as you wrapped up the regular season and into last night. I am going to be cheering my heart out for this Pelicans team on Friday. This game worries me, though. It worried me before we knew that Zion was going to miss the game. Now that we know for certain that Zion's out, what kind of team are you going to have on the court? And if you win that game, you get the number 1 seed Oklahoma City Thunder, who are playing as good as anybody in the NBA. And are you really going to expect Zion back for that game? I mean, he may not miss the whole series, but I would say at this point it's likely that he misses a couple games in that series as well. Now, you're better on the road than you are at home, so maybe that's the only bright spot. You do get the Thunder on the road, but they're very good at home. I worry about this game on Friday. Again, I'm going to be pulling for him. We'll see what happens, but a banged up Brandon Ingram, a CJ McCollum that's on a cold shooting streak with no Zion Williamson against a hungry Kings team that is looking for their first win against you this year in a must-win game. I think it's all of that together is a bad combination. We'll see what happens on Friday because they're going to play the Kings, and again, they are going to be without Zion Williamson, who will miss that game because of a hamstring injury. All right, look, we're going to take a timeout. When we get back, we're going to shift to the baseball diamond. The Tigers beat UNO last night. We'll kind of get a recap of that game and then preview the must-win SEC series against the Missouri Tigers this weekend. We're going to be joined by Cokie Riley of The Advocate. That's coming up when we get back here on the Hunt Palmer Show, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
You are now listening to the Hunt Palmer Show.
Doesn't matter what game I watch. Whichever one I decide is going to go on the TV that was mounted by Audio Video Security Solutions, and it will have surround sound coming from the ceiling because of the folks at Audio Video Security Solutions. And I don't even have to get up off the couch to set the alarm for the night if the games go late, because I've got the app and I'll just pull it up and set the alarm for the house because of Audio Video Security Solutions. Check them out online, avssla.com. Our guy Mitchell Fisher, such a great company. They've got such a wealth of knowledge. There are so many of us who don't even know where to start with surround sound and with security systems and where to place cameras and how many you need and whether or not your windows have sensors and all those types of things he can handle for you. He did it for us. He can do it for you. Give him a call. This is his cell phone, 225-439-7920, 225-439-7920. It's Audio Video Security Solutions at avssla.com.
In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045espn.com.
Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram is taking $11,000 off the new 23 Dodge Charger. We're open for business in our beautiful new showroom and taking $11,000 off the powerful new Charger. All new Bayou vehicles come with a 1 million mile warranty. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
Jerry and Benny Payne began Central Plumbing Company out of their driveway in Tanglewood Subdivision. 50 years later and 4 generations down the road, we continue to serve Baton Rouge and the surrounding areas for all of their plumbing needs. Residential, commercial, industrial, or hospitality, Central Plumbing is here 24/7, 365.
We want to thank our customers, family, and friends for 50 years of success.
And looking forward to 50 more.
The Windsor Senior Living Community in Mandeville, Louisiana is a beautiful, vibrant apartment community geared toward seniors. They are nestled right in the heart of Mandeville, where seniors live a more carefree lifestyle in spacious apartments with the peace of mind that comes from having a little extra help. Call the Windsor at 985-624-8040 to schedule a lunch and tour. Come see how the Windsor can be your passport to peace of mind.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. For years, you've heard me tell you about Insurance Network of Louisiana, helping you find better coverage for less money. But it's not just for your home and auto. They also offer commercial property. So, retail stores, professional offices like doctors, dentists, attorneys, clothing boutiques. Insurance Network of Louisiana can find you better coverage for less money. They service the entire state of Louisiana, and they're local. So call today at 293-0450 or lainsurance.net.
Yo, Jake here from my friends over at Community Steel Company located in Gonzales, Louisiana. The local place you can turn to for all of your metal building needs. Notice I said local, not Houston, not Dallas, not Atlanta, but right here in Gonzales. Visit them at their brand new state-of-the-art website at communitysteelco.com or pick up the phone and give them a call today to answer all of your questions on your metal buildings, roofing and sheet metal, and any other steel needs you or your business need at 225-647-2020.
Bayou Ford has $10,000 off F-150s, $10,000 off the new F-150 truck, plus 1.9% for 72 months. And all new Bayou Ford.
Charles Hanniger, join us for the Thursday edition of Live at Lunch from Jolie Pearl Oyster Bar and Town Square Pizza. Dwayne Colucci and Matt Humans join us from Las Vegas, and professional sports handicapper Randy McKay checks in. Live at Lunch from Jolie Pearl on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Oh four five ESPN Baton Rouge and the Baton Rouge Clinic bring you the Dreams Come True Radiothon. Dreams Come True is an organization designed to help grant dreams for children with life-threatening illnesses and their families. The Dreams Come True Radiothon is presented today by Mystery Electric, Goodwood Men's Clinic, and Shawbills. Donate today at 1045ESPN.com.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Welcome back into the Hunt Palmer Show. Taylor Sharp here with you, pinch hitting for Mr. Hunt Palmer. And speaking of baseball, we're joined right now by Koki Riley of The Advocate. Koki, how are you doing today? Koki, you got us? All right, well, we're going to call Koki back here in just a second. But as I teased here, going into the break, LSU baseball gets a 6-3 win over UNO last night in a game that you were actually down 2-0 early in this baseball game. It's not unlike what the softball team did last night. They had a come from behind win against our little brothers down the road in ULL. They were down 2-0 in that game. They come back and win as well. Hey, Koki, how are you doing today, man?
Doing pretty well. How's it going?
It's going good, man. Look, I was talking about it right before you got on. LSU gets the win over UNO in the midweek, 6-3, but you were in that 2-0 deficit early on. Thatcher Hurd gets the start, and it was shaky again, to say the least. So you get your first batter out, but he walks the second batter, gave up a homer to the third batter, a single to batter number 4, and fifth batter got on base by a hit by pitch. I say all that to kind of ask you this in as broad a baseball terms as I can. What is wrong with Thatcher Hurd this year? I mean, what have you seen from him that's so much different than last year?
I think one of the main differences, I think last year a lot of the problems had to do with control. This year, I think he's actually throwing more strikes this season. But the problem is, a lot of mistake pitches. And, that home run the other night, Jay Johnson said it was a mistake pitch. Sure seemed like it. Mitchell Sanford, former Tiger, take it into right field. And yeah, I think a lot of it's just mistake pitches and, trying not to, just throw stuff right over the middle of the plate. And that's just been a huge issue for him. And the big inning's been a huge issue for him. I think one of the main reasons why this team is where they're at right now is, because of someone like Thatcher, who has just simply struggled this season, and that's the guy they really counted on, heading into this year. This guy started opening day, right? So, it's impossible to deny.
Yeah, and Koki, Thatcher Hurd, like you mentioned, he came into this year. He got the first crack at being your Friday night guy. He was your opening day starter. He was so big for you in Omaha a year ago. You haven't seen him a lot lately in terms of weekend series out of the pen. Then you start him in the midweek. He struggles there as well. Where can you put him to try to get him back in the swing of things? Because, right now it's a struggle.
I think the midweeks is probably it's the reason why he pitched in this midweek and he didn't pitch in the weekends. And I think Jay Johnson kind of likes, with the pitching at least, he likes to use the midweeks as sort of almost like a tune-up for the guys, and just trying to get them back on track to what they so they can kind of like reach their potential and work on some stuff, right? And you've seen that be kind of successful even this season, as rough as this year has been. Like Cam Johnson and Aiden Moss, they pitched a whole bunch of midweeks, and then they just got slowly better and better and better with each midweek appearance. And now they're probably like two of the top guys out of their bullpen outside of Griffin Herring. Griffin Herring even threw a midweek or two, has thrown a midweek or two this weekend, and figured out some stuff, and now he's one of the better relievers in the entire SEC. So I think that, I think that like this strategy of using the midweeks is kind of a tune-up, for the other day, for yesterday, it was Justin Lohr and Christian Little doing the midweek. Sort of using that day as sort of like a tune-up for these guys has actually kind of worked for them, even if not a lot's working for them as a whole right now.
Koki Riley joining us of The Advocate. Koki, look, obviously you beat UNO. Nice job of falling into a deficit early, but bouncing back from it. Let's kind of move on to this weekend. You play Missouri. If you're LSU, you're 3-12 in the conference. You've struggled, but Missouri has struggled as well. Does LSU have to get a sweep this weekend?
I think they need to win at least 4 games if they want a chance at the tournament. And I mean 4 games. I mean 4 games of the next 6, because I kind of look at the series and the Auburn series paired together, because these are 2 teams that are last place in their respective divisions. I think Auburn's 2-13 and Missouri's 5-10. They should beat these 2 teams. They're more talented than both of these teams. They're easily the worst in conference teams they've played so far this season, or they will play this season. So, compared to what the first 5 weeks have been, which have been really tough for them, if they just play a little bit better, obviously, focus on themselves, do all that sort of good stuff, I think the results will follow, because of simply because of the competition that they're facing just isn't as nearly as tough as Tennessee, where he lost 3 close games, as Arkansas, where he lost 3 close games, as Vanderbilt, where he lost 2 or 3 games, one of which was very close. So, yeah, they've been pretty close against some of these really good teams. So it's not like they're getting blown out every single game. Yes, they've been blown out 3 times, obviously. Like, that's bad and even inexcusable. But at the same time, you wonder what's it going to look like against a team like Missouri, who are clearly worse than them talent-wise. It's not even a debate. And then are, struggling themselves. So, if they can win these next 2 series, and hopefully sweep one of them for their sakes, then all of a sudden, you're at 8 SEC wins. You have 3 weekends left, and your fate is totally in your own hands. But you can kind of get more control over your destiny, right? Like, these 2 weekends are really huge for that. Every weekend's going to be like a playoff series, and I know Jay Johnson says that all the time, but that's going to be especially true now. Like, if they want to make the tournament, they have to win these next 2 series. They probably need to sweep one of them.
Yeah, and when LSU fans look at it, you're like, okay, look, we got Missouri. There's a little bit of a break here in the SEC schedule, because you mentioned they are last in their division. But what worries you about Missouri? Because, we got to remember this is a team that swept the Florida Gators, so they have shown the ability to get kind of hot. What worries you about this team?
Yeah, Jay Johnson talked about the other day how, pitching wise, they have a couple nice pitchers with their starting pitching. But I wouldn't be too concerned about them. And we know the ups and downs that Florida has had really this entire season. But Missouri has a couple nice pitchers and, brand new head coach. They kind of have that, first year excitement vibe to them. So yeah, I wouldn't be too. All I'm saying is that LSU should win this series, and they're the better, more talented team. And if they don't win this series, even if it is on the road, then it's going to be really tough and maybe even impossible to see them progress in SEC play. This Missouri team's really struggled when it comes to their hitting at the plate, and pitching wise, they're better on the mound, but I wouldn't say they're this ace. They have this ace staff or anything close to that. So this is a series that they should certainly win.
Look, as far as LSU goes going into this series, we've seen Jay at times tinker with the batting order. He's moved Tommy White around. He struggled to kind of find that consistent leadoff batter. Who would you put at the top of this lineup?
That's a good question, because I think there's a bunch of different guys who you could play around with this idea with. I'm for just getting the guy who can get on base the best. And right now it's probably either Jared Jones or Tommy White. Granted, those are also those two guys you want to see up in, 2-out scenarios with guys with runners on base and runners in scoring position. But at the same time, you need guys to get on base first to even score runs, right? And they had trouble doing that even at times against Tennessee, where they had a couple games where, and especially in the second half of the series, that was an issue for them. But I think that the first step to scoring runs is getting guys on base, and you want the guys at the top of your order, obviously, to get on base as much as humanly possible. And if that means you have to sort of potentially sacrifice them being up with runners in scoring position, I'm willing to make that trade-off, because the more opportunities you get with runners in scoring position, the more likely you're going to eventually break through with scoring some runs. So that's kind of how I view that. And right now they have three guys like Ashton Larson, Tommy White, and Jared Jones are probably one of the three most reliable hitters over the last week or so. And in some order, that's probably your top three, as long as you're facing a righty, at least.
Yeah, Kogi, as far as the pitching goes for LSU, we've seen Luke Coleman, Gage Jump. We know what those guys got. Nate Ackenhausen started Game 3 this last weekend, and he actually pitched pretty well. What did you make of his performance, and do you think he's going to hold on to that spot?
Yeah, I thought he threw really well as well. Did a good job of locating his stuff low in the strike zone. Had a pretty good changeup going, and he's a guy who you figured was going to be a really big piece of them, but struggled for close to a month. And it really wasn't until this past weekend where we saw him have a really, really good outing, and he threw 4 innings, only gave up 2 earned runs on a 2-run homer that had some help from the park. So I gotta say, if he can pitch like that again, then LSU might have actually found their Sunday starter.
Kogi, before I get you out of here, look, we got 5 SEC series remaining for this LSU Tigers team. What final conference record, maybe not do you think they're going to get, what do you think they're going to need in order to make that regional?
So I think they got to get to 13 or 14. And then they got 15 games left. Could they go 10-5 over the next 15 games? I don't think that's impossible. I wouldn't say that's likely, but I think if they can do that, they'll get the 13 wins, and then that gets them into the range, roughly. I think 15 kind of gets you in. But that would, they would have to win, 12 games, 13 games, but that's really tough because Alabama is a good team. They still have them on their schedule. I mentioned Texas A&M. They're the best. They're probably the best team in the country right now. That series is in Baton Rouge, but it's still going to be very hard. Alabama's on the road. That's going to be extremely hard. So those two series, you probably need to win one of those. And then if you take care of your business against Ole Miss, which is ahead of them in the standings right now, and just took down Mississippi State in the series, not a guarantee either. Missouri and Auburn, you have to win those three series at a minimum. Probably have to sweep two of them, and then you probably need to win one of the Alabama or Texas A&M series. If you can win one of those two, and then sweep two of the other three, then I think you have a chance. But even that I don't think that guarantees them. And I mean, it's hard to know exactly because a lot of this also depends on what everyone else does. But I don't think the season is over for these guys quite yet.
Yeah, we're going to see what they do. They're probably going to need some help in the SEC tournament, get a couple wins if they only finish with 13. But Koki, thank you so much for hopping on with me today, man. It was great talking to you. I've kept you long enough, though, man.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Yeah, absolutely. That was Koki Riley there, LSU baseball beat reporter for The Advocate. You heard it there. It's doable for LSU, but they certainly have a tough road ahead of them if they want to make it to postseason play. All right, look, we're going to take a quick timeout. When we come back, it's kind of award season or award talking season for the NBA. And a story came out today that I got a little bit of an issue with. We'll get into that when we get back here on the Hunt Palmer Show, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
You are now listening to the Hunt Palmer Show.
Boudreaux's Electrical Services. Boudreaux's Electric. Certified Generac generator dealer. Premier Generac generator dealer. Can promise you this when you contact the folks at Boudreaux's. It's going to be an incredibly efficient process. They're going to send out an employee. They're going to survey your home, figure out what you need, and they're going to get you into the right generator because not all generators are created exactly equally. Depends on your square footage, what you want powered if the power fails. Some folks want the whole house roaring. You can get that done. Some folks, just keep it cool, make sure the AC is running. I might like a TV too. That's fine too. They can do it for you. But you got to know what you want, and then they'll have a full-time Boudreaux's Electric employee come out to install the generator using the highest quality in piping and wiring, and they're going to do most of that installation underground so that it's aesthetically pleasing and functional when the power goes out down here in South Louisiana. Give them a call at 985-397-1562, 985-397-1562. That's my friends at Boudreaux's Electric.
Our listeners fire off their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Power up your next project with John Deere Deals by Sunshine. Whether you're working hard or playing hard, our knowledgeable team will help you find the right product for you. Ask us about our amazing tractor package promotions. Learn more about what it means to be powered by Sunshine at sunequip.com.
Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram is taking $11,000 off the new 23 Dodge Charger. We're open for business in our beautiful new showroom and taking $11,000 off the powerful new Charger. All new Bayou vehicles come with a 1 million mile warranty. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
Breck teamed up to reimagine your parks, and you imagined big. With your help, we went to work, creating 12 beautiful community parks across the parish. A family-sized water park, miles and miles of trails, and parks just for your dogs. There are more places to splash, to explore, to run wild, and even soar. You imagined, we delivered. Gold. Breck, your #1 park system in the nation.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal.
Moscona inviting you to join us for Wednesday's Hump Day AFR, presented by Pluckers. We'll recap Pels, Lakers in the play-in, LSU, UNO from the box, and we'll follow LSU with the latest portal news. Join us 3 to 6, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Welcome back into the Hunt Palmer Show. Thanks to Koki Riley, who we spoke to in our last segment, talking a little LSU baseball, previewing the upcoming series against the Missouri Tigers. He talked about what LSU needs to do in the remainder of SEC play to get into a regional spot. Teased it going into break. Look, it's the NBA regular season is wrapped up, and we know the Pelicans are in that play-in game this Friday against the Kings to get into the NBA playoffs, but it's also awards talking season. And the topic of most improved player came up yesterday, and a lot of people immediately threw out Donte DiVincenzo's name, which makes a ton of sense. I mean, his shooting efficiency was at a career best. His shooting jumped from 9.4 points per game a year ago to 15.5 points a game this season. He drained a franchise record 283 three-pointers. Only Steph Curry and Luka Doncic finished with more this season. He also suited up for 81 of the 82 games. Still, when you factor all that in, Donte DiVincenzo is still ineligible for the NBA's Most Improved Player award voting. Here's why. Because last offseason, it was established that in order for candidates to be eligible for awards, they have to appear in a minimum of 65 games. I have no problem with that rule. And you can say, well, didn't you just say he played in 81 games? Yeah, but for a game to count towards a total, players have to log at least 20 minutes of playing time in that game. So I could play in 82 games in the NBA. If I only play 4 minutes in each of those games, I don't get credit for any of them. So 20 minutes of playing time per game for it to count. DiVincenzo finished the regular season with 62 such appearances. So there were 62 games this year where he played 20 minutes or more. Now, the league does allow for a little bit of leeway. They give players credit for up to 2 games if they log between 15 and 20 minutes. So they will give you a little bit of leeway. But even with those tacked on, DiVincenzo is still ineligible. He also played 52 minutes in this regular season finale against the Bulls. With that little bit of leeway, I mentioned he had 62 games. He got credit for 64 qualifying appearances out of the mandatory 65-game minimum. So this is a guy that doubled his points per game, was third in the NBA in total three-pointers made, was top 10 in three-point percentage, played a pivotal role on the New York Knicks team, who clinched the 2 seed on Sunday, by the way, and he played in 81 and 82 out of 82 games. And he is ineligible because he didn't play 20 minutes in enough of these games. And you can say, well, he should have played more minutes. He should have factored in. I get it, but at the same time, if he played less minutes as the season started and more when it ended, isn't that actually improving as the season goes along as well? I was completely unaware that there was a minutes requirement to win this award, but I hate this rule. Because think about this for a second. This is the same league that allows players that do not actually play their first year in the NBA to win Rookie of the Year their second year in the NBA. We've seen it before. Joel Embiid won the MVP after sitting out his first year playing his second year. Ben Simmons with the same franchise won Rookie of the Year after sitting out his first year and playing his second year. So you're allowed to give the MVP award to a second-year player, but you have to log at least 20 minutes a game for it to count as a whole game. LeBron James actually went on a podcast recently, and look, I get it. LeBron contradicts himself about 80% of the time. He's a whiner. We all feel some type of way about him because the Lakers just beat the Pelicans. I get all that. But he actually made a good point here. He was on a podcast, and the host of the podcast asked him, which award that you have not won yet stings the most? And he said it's missing out on Defensive Player of the Year. Now, I laughed when I first heard this because my thought was, hey, LeBron, why don't you play a little bit more defense, because he's notorious for not doing that. But he brought up a point, and when I looked into it, he's actually right. So he's never finished higher than second. He finished second for defensive MVP one time back in 2013. He was beaten out of that award by Marc Gasol. Gasol did not even make first team all defense. LeBron James did. So Gasol makes second team all NBA, all defense. LeBron makes first team all defense. Marc Gasol wins Defensive Player of the Year over LeBron James. No one has a problem with it. So a guy that's not even first team all defense can win the Defensive Player of the Year award. Players in their second year can win Rookie of the Year, but Donte DiVincenzo cannot win the Most Improved Player because he didn't play quite enough 20-minute performances this season to qualify. Missed it by one game, by the way. He had 64 eligible games out of the 65, even though he played in 81 of 82 possible games. I think this is flawed. I think this has to be changed in the offseason. I'm not even a Knicks fan. I don't follow him that close. My colleague Jacob Hester does. I think far and away Donte DiVincenzo should have won this award this year. And I think it's a shame that he's not going to, but that's why rules are in place. Maybe, hopefully, they will see that this award is flawed and make some adjustments, change it in the offseason. But Donte DiVincenzo ineligible because he didn't play enough, even though he played in 81 of 82 games. All right, look, we got to take a quick timeout. We're going to have to pivot a little bit. Preston Guy, who's normally with us on Fridays, he can't make it on Friday. He was only available at 1:45. So do want to break a little bit early to have enough time for Preston before that top of the hour break. So he's coming up next. We're going to talk some LSU football, some transfer portal. We'll get into all of it. That's coming up next here on the Hunt Palmer Show, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
You are now listening to the Hunt Palmer Show. In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
Bayou Ford has $10,000 off F-150s, $10,000 off the new F-150 truck, plus 1.9% for 72 months. And all new Bayou Ford vehicles come with a 1 million mile warranty. The crew at Bayou Ford is going to do right by you.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. For years, you've heard me tell you about Insurance Network of Louisiana, helping you find better coverage for less money. But it's not just for your home and auto. They also offer commercial property. So, retail stores, professional offices like doctors, dentists, attorneys, clothing boutiques. Insurance Network of Louisiana can find you better coverage for less money. They service the entire state of Louisiana, and they're local. So call today at 293-0450 or lainsurance.net.
Yo, Jake here from my friends over at Community Steel Company located in Gonzales, Louisiana. The local place you can turn to for all of your metal building needs. Notice I said local, not Houston, not Dallas, not Atlanta, but right here in Gonzales. Visit them at their brand new state-of-the-art website at communitysteelco.com Or pick up the phone and give them a call today to answer all of your questions on your metal buildings, roofing and sheet metal, and any other steel needs you or your business need at 225-647-2020.
Power up your next project with John Deere Deals by Sunshine. Whether you're working hard or playing hard, our knowledgeable team will help you find the right product for you. Ask us about our amazing tractor package promotions. Learn more about what it means to be powered by sunshine at sunequip.com.
Jerry and Benny Payne began Central Plumbing Company out of their driveway in Tanglewood subdivision. 50 years later and 4 generations down the road, we continue to serve Baton Rouge and the surrounding areas for all of their plumbing needs. Residential, commercial, industrial, or hospitality, Central Plumbing is here 24/7, 365.
We want to thank our customers, family, and friends for 50 years of success.
And looking forward to 50 more.
At Relief Windows, we're more than windows. We're windows, doors, hardy plank, and vinyl siding. But our number one product is always customer satisfaction.
The Bench with Jacob Hester and T-Bob Hebert. Mornings from 7 to 10 on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Welcome back into The Hunt Palmer Show. Taylor Sharp here with you, not the normal host of The Hunt Palmer Show, and this guy we're talking to next, not his normal time slot. We usually have him on Fridays, but we're both having to pivot a little bit today. Joined right now by Preston Guy of TigerBay.com. Preston, how are you today? Preston, we got you. All right, we dropped him again. Beck doesn't know what he's doing over there with the phone lines, but I'm just kidding. The phone over there, it is not exactly 2024 quality. I mean, you would think that in 2024 we would have a better phone. We do not. But look, we're going to be joined by Preston right here. I'm going to get his immediate reaction to the spring game. We hadn't talked to him since before that spring game. And then, of course, transfer portal options as well. But looks like we got him back. All right, we do have him back. Preston, sorry about that. What's going on, man?
Hey, man, what's up? Look, it wasn't me, man. I was about to roll on target. I got those 3 beats.
Look, I'm going to blame Jacob Beck. This is the second guest we've had. Yeah. It's the second time it happened, so it's clearly on him. But, Preston, look, man, this is your first time hopping on since the spring game happened. Just as a whole, what were your kind of biggest takeaways? Maybe Garrett Nussmeier leading the offense. What were your kind of biggest takeaways from that game?
Your takeaway number one is Garrett Nussmeier is really good, and he's set to have a big season. I think that's your big obvious point. My second takeaway was how good he was once you add in the context, because the defense was actually pretty solid outside of Garrett Nussmeier playing football. I mean, Nussmeier torched him 7 for 7, 182 yards, 2 touchdowns. There's no mistake about that. But against all other quarterbacks combined, they gave up 1 touchdown, and it was in garbage time to the true freshman Colin Hurley, who threw a dime, no doubt, to Kai Preen, who is now in the transfer portal. I guess that touchdown didn't help keep him around. But, it just, kind of speaks volumes that the other guys, even when A.J. Swan and Ricky Collins subbed in with the ones against the ones on defense, they still weren't able to move the ball the same. So I think that context speaks volumes. There are some things I saw out of the defense I really liked, again, when Garrett Nussmeier wasn't on the field for the most part, because they made a lot of mistakes when he was out there, and he just ate them alive. But, there's other things that they really need to work on, and most of which being the fundamentals. I did see a little bit of hope that they'll be better. They couldn't be worse than last year, so they should be better. It's just you have a lot of progress to go before you call this defense anything you would call good. They have to improve quite a bit before we're talking about that.
Preston, you kind of dove right into my next point. Wanted to shift to the transfer portal a little bit because it is portal season. T-Bob Hebert calls it portal combat, if you will, on point for him. But you mentioned Kai Preen. He has entered the transfer portal. But then LSU also, they lack some depth on the D-line. It came out the other day that they've actually offered C.J. West, the transfer defensive tackle out of Kent State. What can you tell me about him?
He's a guy who has over 100 tackles. I'm told from people that coaches consider him an NFL player. So I was thinking in this spring you were going to get a depth piece at best, because this portal window is not as good as your fall portal window. It just isn't. You're guys who are typically your top of stock guys didn't wait until this window. Well, he is a SEC starting caliber player. LSU wants him. LSU needs him in a bad way because, Gio Paye, we'll see how he transfers to a 4-2 defensive tackle. He played mostly in a 3-man front defensive end for Wisconsin. So there should be some growing pains there. But this is the kind of guy who is looking to go one and done. He's only got 1 year left. And he's looking to put some film against SEC players or at least Power 5 players. Which will be his big knock if he were to go pro right now is, hey, man, you didn't do it against top-tier talent. We don't know if you can, while he's looking to prove them otherwise. The problem here is the defensive tackle market for SEC teams. They're all looking for a defensive tackle, and it's going to be tough to fight everybody else off. I do know LSU is in a bit of a better NIL position than they were a year ago at this portal window. So we'll see. It's also less needs. You might argue that they should bring in a running back based on the Trey Holly situation. We'll see. A super talented defensive back might cross someone's eye, but understand they have 21 defensive backs on this team. It's not a depth issue. It's a getting a good player issue.
Well, and not only that, Preston, you mentioned Kai Preen entering the portal. I want to talk about that real quick, but also LSU was over the limit. I believe they were at about 88 players. You got to be at 85. So I imagine this had something to do with it. I mean, how are they going to get below that number?
Well, I think they were at 88. Jackson Howard enters the portal. Kai Preen enters the portal. So that puts you at 86. As to how you get there, you're one away right now, but of course that's a moving target. As everybody comes in, you move one further away with each additional person, and you need to do that. You're going to have to shift away, and right now their deepest positions are defensive back and receiver. And your receiver position, you certainly feel a lot better than your defensive back position. But, the fact of the matter is some of these guys are either going to have to get, sat down and told, hey, man, your future is X, Y, or Z, or it just naturally happens, which if you look at football teams in this modern era, it does naturally happen. Guys will move on. And maybe you just wait and see who those guys are before you make that cut.
So you mentioned running back a little bit, and is that a position they would seriously be pursuing here in the portal? Because we don't know Trey Holly's situation. Caden Durham doesn't get here till the fall. So, right now you have 2 running backs you can count on. Is there somebody to maybe keep an eye on?
Well, there are. I don't want to throw any names out. There's a Louisiana kid who just entered the portal who LSU was in on, but I wonder if during his recruiting process, if LSU might have rubbed him the wrong way. You know how hometown.
Yeah.
But I think that they genuinely believe Trey Holly will be a part of this team, and I also think that they feel with those 4 guys, they're good at running back if they can get all 4. Now, if Trey Holly's not here, I can't assume that they believe they're in a good position, because 3 running backs, if you go back historically speaking, you can go 10 years plus with Brian Kelly's offense. Look at the numbers. They always have 4 running backs with 40 or more carries. He wants 4 guys. And honestly, 4 is cutting it a little tight, because then if you have a single injury or anything like that, or maybe one of the guys doesn't cut out to give you the kind of quality carries and looks you're looking for, well then you're understaffed based on what they want to do. But I think they have a lot of faith in Caden Durham. I think they're really high on him. He is a speed demon. He is winning 6A track meets, state championships over there, which is not easy. I think that they really like the 2 guys, Caleb Jackson and Trey Holly, coming off their freshman season. And we all know what you got in the veteran Josh Williams. So I think if Trey Holly's back, I genuinely believe, they're happy.
Yeah, I agree with you as well. Preston, we are out of time, man. Thank you for making time. I know you had to pivot in the last minute, so thanks for stopping by.
All right, man. Take it easy. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. That was Preston Guy there with TigerBait.com. Just a wealth of information there from Preston. Look, we got another hour left with you to kick off the 2 o'clock hour. We are going to talk a little bit of New Orleans Saints. We'll dive into some mock drafts. Maybe look at their depth chart a little bit. Other pieces outside of offensive line and receiver that they might need to fill. At 2:15, I know we normally do it in the 1 o'clock hour, but because Preston had to pivot, we are going to do What If Wednesday at 2:15. And then as we do every single day here on the Hunt Palmer Show, we are going to wrap things up with Take It or Leave It. We're going to be back for another hour. We got SportsCenter coming up. That's right here on the Hunt Palmer Show here on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected. Supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team. And backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
Breck teamed up to reimagine your parks, and you imagined big. With your help, we went to work, creating 12 beautiful community parks across the parish. A family-sized water park, miles and miles of trails, and parks just for your dogs. There are more places to splash, to explore, to run wild, and even soar. You imagined, we delivered gold. Breck, your #1 park system in the nation.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs. Even in the case of an after-hours emergency, the light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. For years, you've heard me tell you about Insurance Network of Louisiana, helping you find better coverage for less money. But it's not just for your home and auto. They also offer commercial property. So, retail stores, professional offices like doctors, dentists, attorneys, clothing boutiques. Insurance Network of Louisiana can find you better coverage for less money. They service the entire state of Louisiana, and they're local. So call today at 293-0450 or lainsurance.net.
Yo, Jake here from my friends over at Community Steel Company located in Gonzales, Louisiana. The local place you can turn to for all of your metal building needs. Notice I said local, not Houston, not Dallas, not Atlanta, but right here in Gonzales. Visit them at their brand new state-of-the-art website at communitysteelco.com Or pick up the phone and give them a call today to answer all of your questions on your metal buildings, roofing and sheet metal, and any other steel needs you or your business need at 225-647-2020.
This is SportsCenter.
I'm Christine Lisi. Raptors forward Jontay Porter has been banned by the NBA for gambling violations. ESPN NBA insider Adrian Wojnarowski.
The league's investigation found everything from limiting his own participation in games, sharing confidential information with known bettors, and betting on as many as 13 NBA games himself, including betting the Toronto Raptors to lose.
The NBA said the investigation remains open and it is sharing information with federal authorities. Pelicans power forward Zion Williamson will miss Friday's play-in game versus Sacramento due to a hamstring injury. The matchup determines the West seed. 76ers star Joel Embiid expected to play in the East 7-8 play-in matchup against the Heat tonight. He tweaked his surgically repaired knee last week. After the Sixers and Heat, it is the Hawks and Bulls in the East 9-10 game on ESPN. It's a matchup also available at 9 Eastern here on ESPN Radio. Baseball, Padres ace Yu Darvish has been put on the injured list with a neck issue.
As humans, we like having options. One option you might like is speaking with a real person when you call about your credit card. With 24/7 live, U.S.-based customer service from Discover, everyone can talk to a real person anytime, day or night. Limitations apply. See terms at discover.com/credit card.
Ladies and gentlemen, may I direct your attention to something quite extraordinary?
Now, the Hunt Palmer Show. The Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studios. This is Hunt Palmer.
Welcome back into hour number 2 of the Hunt Palmer Show. Taylor Sharp here with you, filling in for Mr. Hunt Palmer. He's a little bit under the weather today. Got a text at about 7:30, 8 o'clock this morning saying, hey, be ready. I got guests already lined up. Can you make it happen? We are going to make it happen for our guy, Hunt Palmer. Recapping a little bit of what happened in hour number 1. We opened things off giving our reaction to the Lakers taking down the Pelicans to grab that 7 seed. Zion Williamson, if you have not heard, he will miss the game against the Sacramento Kings with a hamstring injury. That is all we know up to this point, but you're going to be shorthanded against the Kings in a must-win game to get into the playoffs. Then we were joined by Koki Riley to talk a little LSU baseball. And then in our last segment, right before we wrapped up hour number 1, Preston Guy of TigerBait.com stopped by, talk a little spring game, and then the craziness that is the NCAA transfer portal. Right now, though, I want to shift things from college football to the NFL, discuss a little New Orleans Saints. And with that, I want to join... We are joined right now by Logan Graffia, a contributing sports reporter for WLAE-TV out there in New Orleans. Logan, what's going on, man?
Hey, Taylor, what's going on, man? Thanks for having me on. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. You were the first phone call today that has not dropped halfway through, so we appreciate that on your part. But, Logan, let's dive right into it, man. The Saints own the 14th pick and the 45th pick. Those are the ones that, you know, we've kind of seen mocked the most. And it's kind of consensus across the board been offensive line at 14 and then receiver at 45. What would you do with those picks if you were in the Saints position?
The exact same thing that you mentioned, offensive line and wide receiver. Before the Ryan Ramczyk news came out, I was totally against picking an offensive lineman at pick 14. I was all in on you got to get an edge rusher. But now with the Ramczyk news, I'm like, okay, you got to get offensive tackle or even an offensive guard at 14. And then with the 45th pick, I mean, you got to at least get a wide receiver, another pass catcher, because Michael Thomas is gone, and you're looking at a wide receiver core right now of just Olave, Shaheed, and A.T. Perry. I mean, you did sign Cedric Wilson, but how confident are you with that? So with the 14th pick, I would expect them to go, of course, offensive tackle. I mean, I would expect them to go offensive tackle twice in this draft, if not much more. This is a desperate need at that position.
So we've seen whether it's Olu Fashanu, Fuaga from Oregon State, and now Tyler Guyton from Oklahoma. I mean, those have kind of been the three consensus, and I think they're all good picks. But let's say for some reason all three of those guys are there. Who do you go with?
I would go with the tackle from Washington, or you got to go with Mims from Georgia. He's a big mauler type of guy. He's played in the SEC. He missed a few games with an injury, to my knowledge. And then you have J.C. Latham from Alabama. And Bama players normally do well here for the Saints. So historically, he's a right tackle, but he can slide in over to left tackle if need be, because we don't know what's going to happen with Trevor Penning. You can kind of hope and pray that the new offensive line coaches that they brought in get him developed right, and then you draft someone like a J.C. Latham if all those other options are gone, and he could just slide in and start at right tackle for you, like, right away.
As far as that second round pick at 45, it seems like it's been receiver across the board. What kind of receiver do you think the Saints are looking for, and who do you like in that spot at 45?
It seems like if you look at the pattern of the visits of the receivers that they visited with, the top 30 visits, I mean, it's looking like they're looking for a true slot wide receiver, because, like I said, Michael Thomas was predominantly in the slot last year, and like I said, he's gone. So one receiver that kind of fits that mold that they visited with is Malachi Corley from Western Kentucky, who Steve Smith Sr., who a legendary wide receiver from once upon a time, calls him the Yak King because a lot of his yards came after the catch, and he's been in the slot. He's like the perfect mold and the perfect choice, I think, at 45. He will be available, and if he's not there, then you get somebody who's kind of what I call a DK Metcalf clone, and Xavier Legette from South Carolina, just a big-bodied wide receiver. He's not a slot guy, but he can catch in traffic, and you kind of need all of this for this offense, because the more weapons you have, the better it'll be, because, I mean, what we've seen it can't get much worse from last year. It just can't.
Speaking of needing weapons on this offense, all the talk's been about receiver, but, this is a pretty deep tight end class. Do you think the Saints, is that something they look into? I mean, how happy do you think they are with their current tight end room? Because we know that Taysom, while he's listed as a tight end, he's going to move around all over the field. What are your thoughts on possibly looking after a tight end?
Well, I'm all for it, because I am not that high on Juwan Johnson in the Foster Moreau tight end room. I mean, I loved Foster when he was at LSU, but that time has passed. Juwan Johnson, it's kind of been inconsistent. So I would think the Saints could benefit from drafting a tight end. I mean, there's so many that you could choose from. I mean, Brock Bowers is the fan favorite down here for the Saints to draft in the first round, which I don't think is realistic that he even makes it to 14. But you got so many options. I mean, they just visited with Eric All, the tight end from Iowa, but he's coming off of injury. They got Theo Johnson from Penn State. Jatavion Sanders from Texas they visited with. I mean, the options are out all over the place. I mean, they really could benefit from another pass-catching tight end, but normally they like to go for a tight end that knows how to block more than they can catch. But I'm hoping with Clint Kubiak being here that they go for the more offensive side for the tight end, the pass-catching ability that way.
All right, Logan, we're going to stick with the draft right now, but I want to kind of shift our focus to the defensive side of things, because you mentioned it earlier, and I think it's something that hadn't been talked about enough, because all we've heard is, we're going offensive line and receiver in picks 1 and 2. After 45, the Saints don't have another draft pick until the 5th round, and they need some help, like you mentioned, edge rusher, defensive tackle, wherever. Do you think they could actually trade back up to get somebody they like if they fall to them as far as the defensive line goes?
Well, I mean, we've seen it all throughout the years. Mickey Loomis is very aggressive when it comes to the draft. He will trade the farm just to trade for one pick, just to trade up into the draft. So if they see a defensive tackle or an edge rusher that they like, I expect them to go get it. Now, which ones would they target? I don't know. But if you ask me, they need to go after a few guys like, Braden Fisk, the defensive tackle from Florida State. He disrupted everything at the Senior Bowl, and they love Senior Bowl players. And then you got Devondre Sweat. I mean, I had him on my board, but of course he got in trouble down there in Texas, I think with a DUI. And then you got Christian Boyd. They visited with him at the Shrine Bowl or the Senior Bowl. Can't remember which one it was. Out of Northern Iowa. Doesn't have that great RAS score that the Saints love, but I would take a shot at him. And then you got, let's see.
Did we lose him? I think we just lost him. Bet, go ahead and call him back. But no, he's right. You got to go defensive line at least some spot. And, we were looking at it today, and I'm like, they don't have another pick until round 5. What's going to happen there? There is a big thing. He just mentioned T'Vondre Sweat. I get it. The off-the-field issues are certainly a concern. That is a huge issue. It's something you cannot play around with. But at the same time, he's dropped to kind of like 93 overall on somebody's big board. If Sweat's there in the 5th round, he's a guy I'm certainly looking at. All right, well, we got Logan back right now. Logan, let's maybe that was our cue to shift our focus away from defensive line real quick. And look, I get it. You mentioned Malachi Corley. He's a guy that shot up draft boards. So we know about kind of these late risers. Is there any late round targets? Doesn't matter position, like a late round target, and you're like, hey, if that guy's there, the Saints need to grab him.
Well, I mean, I love the defensive backs that they have in this draft. And, I mean, one guy that has just stuck out to me, he was incredible at the Senior Bowl, is Jarvis Brownlee from Louisville. He's a cornerback. Saints don't necessarily need more corners because, I mean, they have Lattimore, Adebo, and Alontae Taylor. But, I mean, this guy would just be somebody. If he's there, I would take him. And another guy is Trey Taylor, the safety from Air Force. He was up there for the Jim Thorpe Award this year as being one of the best defensive backs in the country. The Saints do have a need at safety. Marcus May is gone. You bring back Jonathan Abram. They have Jordan Howden, but you still have that gap behind Tyrann Mathieu. So getting someone like a Jarvis Brownlee to go back behind Marshawn Lattimore, or Trey Taylor to go behind a Tyrann Mathieu or Jonathan Abram and Howden. So those would be 2 guys in the later rounds I would target.
Logan, let's kind of shift our focus away from the draft right now. And, it's a guy you mentioned earlier, and you and I have not really gotten a chance to talk about this. Annie, what are your thoughts on the hire of Klint Kubiak, and really what are your expectations for this offense?
So before the Kubiak hire, I made a short list of offensive coordinators that I wanted. My 1A was Zach Robinson. He went to Atlanta, of course. And then my 1B was Klint Kubiak. So when we hired him, I was ecstatic because he's a fresh voice in that organization that we've been desperately needing for a long time. I mean, Sean's gone. We was kind of running a substitute. Pete Carmichael was kind of the substitute teacher with Sean gone, and it was not working out well at all. So you get Klint Kubiak in there. I mean, he only had 1 year predominantly as an offensive coordinator, play caller in Minnesota, but he did fairly well. I mean, they averaged over 20 points per game, and the run game was fantastic. So Klint Kubiak, my expectations for him is get the offense back to where it was many, many years ago and kind of put a fresh spin on it. I mean, let's see some modernized stuff. I mean, I used to love the old I formation fullback type of offense, but this is the modern day. I want to see some modernized offense. Let's play fast. Let's get Derek Carr going, like short game, deep game, whatever. My expectation is just something new, something modern. I mean, that's the only thing that we can hope for because what we was doing the last couple of years has not been working. So my expectation for Klint Kubiak is he's going to make it better.
Speaking of, this new offense, you mentioned he's a new voice in there. What do you think this will do for Derek Carr? I mean, do you expect him to take that year 2 jump? Because, look, there were a lot of people who were, most people were kind of, I'm going to take a wait-and-see approach, but there were some people that were pumping their fists when Derek Carr was signed here, and he was disappointing in year 1. I mean, let's not beat around it. He was disappointing his first year here in New Orleans. Do you think he could take that year 2 jump under Kubiak?
Well, I mean, he's a 10-year vet at this point. If he's going to make a jump, I don't really kind of see it. He is what he is at this point. And we've seen how good he can be at the end of the season. That 4-game stretch, he was on fire. I mean, you look at that Rams, at the end of that Rams game on that Thursday night, he looked like he was finally getting it, but it was a day late, dollar short. But, again, he's a 10-year season vet. He is what he is. If Kubiak can bring the best out of him, then so be it. I'm all for it because it can only get better. I really want to see Derek Carr kind of just take control of the offense. Let Kubiak be kind of like the guardian angel on his shoulder. I mean, just to keep him calm because, like I said, that 4-game stretch last year was the best I've ever seen Derek Carr play since probably his years with Gruden. I mean, it's been a while. I mean, I was one of those people that was pumping their fist when we signed Derek Carr, but throughout the season, it was not pumping anymore. So you can only hope for better. And with Clint Kubiak here and even a new quarterback coach, a new offensive line coach, you have a whole new offensive staff. You can only hope to see better from Derek Carr. I mean, but like I said, he is already a 10-year vet. He is what he is.
Logan, thank you so much for hopping on with me, man. That's going to do it for us. I've kept you way longer than I needed to, but thanks for hopping on.
No problem, Taylor. Happy to do it.
All right, that was Logan Graffia there, sports reporter with WLAE-TV out there in New Orleans. All right, look, we went a little long there in that segment. We come back. We're going to do what we do here every Wednesday on the Hunt Palmer Show. It's What If Wednesday. That's coming up on the other side of this break here on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
You are now listening to the Hunt Palmer Show.
LeBears. They got some fun stuff going on over at LeBears this weekend. You can visit them all weekend long for all the hoops action. Got the biggest screens, best food, best drink. Plus, they're giving away Penn Cash bonuses and prizes to Penn Play Rewards members. If you're not a member, you can join today by downloading and registering for the Penn Play app from the App Store. It's the Penn Play app from the App Store. You can unlock all the fun, including a chance to win up to $2,000 in Penn Cash. All this and more make LeBears Baton Rouge Casino your March sports viewing headquarters. Of course, you know where LeBears is, down there on River Road. They got the awesome sports book right there when you walk in to the left. They'll have all the games, whether you're watching some hoops, whether you're watching some Major League Baseball, whether you're watching the LSU Fighting Tigers. No matter what it is you want to watch, get a few dollars down. It's an awesome place to go. Must be 21 or older. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-522-4700.
Our listeners fire off their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust is giving our customers the power to bank anywhere, anytime during this challenging event. And we're right there with you. Our mobile banking app is a smart way to manage your money and time. Gulf Coast Bank and Trust, the bank that cares about you.
The Windsor Senior Living Community in Mandeville, Louisiana is a beautiful, vibrant apartment community geared toward seniors. They are nestled right in the heart of Mandeville, where seniors live a more carefree lifestyle in spacious apartments with the peace of mind that comes from having a little extra help. Call the Windsor at 985-624-8040 to schedule a lunch and tour. Come see how the Windsor can be your passport to peace of mind.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Jerry and Benny Payne began Central Plumbing Company out of their driveway in Tanglewood subdivision. 50 years later and 4 generations down the road, we continue to serve Baton Rouge and the surrounding areas for all of their plumbing needs. Residential, commercial, industrial, or hospitality, Central Plumbing is here 24/7, 365.
We want to thank our customers, family, and friends for 50 years of success.
And looking forward to 50 more.
Power up your next project with John Deere Deals by Sunshine. Whether you're working hard or playing hard, our knowledgeable team will help you find the right product for you. Ask us about our amazing tractor package promotions. Learn more about what it means to be powered by Sunshine at sunequip.com.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Sandigrove, join us for the Thursday edition of Live at Lunch from Jolie Pearl Oyster Bar and Town Square Pizza. Dwayne Colucci and Matt Humans join us from Las Vegas, and professional sports handicapper Randy McKay checks in. Live at Lunch from Jolie Pearl on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
While you're busy with spring cleaning, we'd like to add to the clutter in your bank account to the tune of $2,000. It's the 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge Spring Cha-Ching, powered by Citizens Bank and Trust. Register today at 1045ESPN.com.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Welcome back into a Wednesday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show. Taylor Sharp here with you, sitting in for Hunt Palmer. He was a little bit under the weather today. He texted me about 8 o'clock, but I am here and we are rolling right along. We got about 30 to 40 minutes left, and wanted to do this because this is what you do every day on the Hunt Palmer Show. It's time for a little bit of What If Wednesday. Jacob Beck, kick us off.
Time, space, reality. It's more than a linear path. Where a single choice can branch out into infinite realities. Follow me and ponder the question, what if?
First off, this is a light-hearted segment, and that is by far the most intense intro we have for any segment on this entire station, so I do appreciate that. But Beck, what do we got on the docket for us today, man? Fire them at me.
All right, first one here. What if you could relive one vacation? What would it be?
If I could relive one vacation, it would probably be my honeymoon to Aruba a year ago. It was my first time being out of the country. It was super fun. I mean, we were there for 8 days, didn't do anything close to everything that island had to offer. I would go back there in a minute. Guys, I'm going to ask both of you, if you could relive one vacation, what would it be?
Go first.
That's kind of hard because I haven't necessarily. Oh, I got one. I would go back to my aunt's wedding. She got married in Jamaica. That was pretty fun.
You started that with saying like, well, I haven't really been. I thought you were going to say you haven't been
anywhere. I had to
anywhere.
think about it. I didn't have enough time to think about it, and then it just popped into my head.
So, Beck,
you
what
had
you
to
got?
think about it. I also probably could have thought about it a little bit more, but I would probably actually say the vacation that my wife and I just took last week, which was to California. We flew to San Diego, spent a few days there, and then we got rented a car and drove up the coast of California to San Francisco for about a week and a half, and saw all the sights to see there. So it was really great. So I'd probably, even though it was recent, I would probably like to relive that one over some other ones.
We went to Vegas for my senior trip when I graduated high school, and we were going to do a whole California thing. Like, we were going to drive to LA, see if we can hit everything else. It wound up not working out. So that's something I've always wanted to do.
Yeah, it's great, man. It's I would highly recommend it. I would say you don't necessarily have to spend a whole lot of time in LA if you don't want to, because it is crazy. Lots of traffic, and there's a lot of touristy stuff. But it was pretty cool to see LA.
All right, what you got for me next?
All right, next one here. What if LSU baseball gets swept by Missouri?
If LSU baseball gets swept by Missouri, well, quite frankly, their season would be over. There would be no coming back from that. This is the one series that you have to win. If there is a series that you have to get 2 out of 3, first off, there's multiple out there. It has to start with Missouri. This is the worst SEC team you have played so far up to this point. You cannot get swept. You can't even lose this series. You have to go to Missouri and win at least 2 out of 3. That would be disaster scenario for the Tigers, so let's hope that doesn't happen.
Yeah, I don't know that it mathematically would disqualify, or not disqualify. I don't know if they would mathematically be out of the SEC tournament, but the chances of them making the SEC tournament if they got swept would probably be very small. So next one here. What if you could only eat one food for the rest of your life? What would it be?
Okay, so this is easy. It's potatoes, and I'll explain why. Because you could do potatoes in about 1,000 different ways. I could do a baked potato by itself. I can slice them. I can make French fries. I can make mashed potatoes. It is the most diverse food item out there, in my opinion. So for that, I'm going potatoes. What says you two?
I think I would go with pasta, because there's so many different types of pasta, and you can do a lot of different types of things with that, and it gets you the carbs that you need, and then you can you can really, there's so many different dishes you can make. I think.
Okay, but you don't get chicken or shrimp or any of that.
Okay, so
you only get pasta. Now you can change your noodles, but you only get pasta. Like for me, I'd have been like, oh well, garlic mashed potatoes. I can't have garlic.
Okay,
like it's only the potato.
That makes it really hard. Then potatoes probably is the best option. Other than that, I mean, there's not really anything else that you can do besides maybe. I mean, if you can just say meat or ground beef, I'd probably say ground beef, I guess, because it gets you protein and all that. So I mean, I don't know. There's really many options here.
Cassie.
I don't know. I have to go with steak. I'm a big steak person.
You just eat steak the rest of your life?
I can't live without it.
You'd be jacked. You'd have so much protein.
All right, next one here. What if Derrick Rose never had knee problems?
If Derrick Rose never had knee problems, I personally believe that he would have been one of the best point guards in you and I's lifetime of watching the NBA. He had come off of an MVP, one of the youngest MVPs to ever win the award at the time. And if you remember that dominant Miami Heat team with LeBron, D-Wade, Bosh, he took that team to the brink. And I mean, the second best player on that team was probably Carlos Boozer or Lou Olding. I mean, he meant everything to that franchise. He had resurrected basketball in the city of Chicago, if you will. It's one of those what-if stories like we're doing right now that if he never gets hurt, it would have been a sight to see because, you know, he kind of went in right before that Big Three era. You got to imagine at some point in his career, he would have been paired with one, probably two more All-Stars alongside him. So it was sad to see Derrick Rose go out the way he did. One of my best friends is the biggest Derrick Rose fan I've ever met. He would probably love this question, but yeah, I think he could have been one of the all-time greats.
Yeah, I think it's probably in the top 3 or 4 of greatest what-ifs in NBA history. Especially in terms of just players that couldn't stay healthy. Derrick Rose certainly was basically unstoppable when he was healthy, but just his style of play, almost similar to a guy that currently plays for the Pelicans that's named Zion Williamson.
Heard of him.
Yeah, he also tends to have, he's had some injury problems. So hopefully he can have a better overall career than Derrick Rose did. He still had a pretty good overall career compared to most guys, but anyway, moving on here. What if Jerry Jones never existed?
Oh, man. Somewhere my dad is yelling at his radio if he happens to be listening. Look, I obviously have had harsh things to say about Jerry Jones for a number of years. There's no question about it. However, I don't want to overlook the good he did in Dallas. If you remember, he bought this team. He took over this franchise, and one of the first things he did was fire Tom Landry. Now, people felt some type of way about that, including my father. They have never gotten over it. But what does he do? He hires Jimmy Johnson. They win 3 Super Bowls together. It's hard to look at the Jerry Jones era and that not be the first thing you think of. Now, I think it's been tainted over time with all the decisions he's made, his inability to relinquish any power over this franchise. You know, he has way more power than any other owner in the NFL, and it shows because when you look at this, you're like, okay, this has Jerry Jones written all over it. But at one time, I think he did a lot of good for this franchise. So you got to take the good and the bad.
Yeah,
I was never there to see any of those Super Bowls. I haven't seen any sort of Cowboys success, but you know, Jerry, when he first came in, he resurrected this franchise and brought a lot of life to him. So it would have been a little bit up and down.
Yeah, I don't know if he's not here. Who knows if they actually hired Jimmy Johnson? It's questionable, but I do think that you have to accept the fact that if it weren't for him, then they probably wouldn't have won those Super Bowls. But also, if it weren't for him, they may have won even more Super Bowls if they would have kept Jimmy Johnson as their coach. But that's also a good what if to think about if they hadn't fired Jimmy Johnson. But I do think that you have to give credit to Jerry Jones for hiring Jimmy Johnson in the first place. All right, next one here. What if you couldn't lie?
Well, I'd be in a lot of trouble, right? I mean, we probably all no. I don't know. Everyone would be a lot ruder to everyone, you know? I mean, I get it. You shouldn't lie to anyone. But, like, if someone comes up to me and they're like, hey, do you like my new haircut? And I absolutely hate their new haircut. I don't have the heart to tell them, no, I don't. So, you know, you'll have a white lie here and there. Nothing that's going to hurt anyone. But Yeah, man, we would all be a lot more miserable if that weren't the case.
Well, if anyone's seen the movie Liar Liar starring Jim Carrey, you would be able to see exactly what would happen if you couldn't lie, and the consequences would be both hilarious and also very unfortunate for the people that can't lie. But also, I think there is a decent amount of people out there that don't lie very often, or at least they don't lie about anything very serious. So I think that there are definitely some people that it would very harshly affect them, but then also some people who actually don't lie very much, and it wouldn't be too bad. But I think it would help. I think it would actually probably help out a lot in terms of just overall life. But last one here: what if you couldn't listen to your favorite genre of music again?
Ooh, well, that would suck for me because I'm one of those people that you're like, oh, well, I listen to a little bit of everything.
You.
Not really me. I mean, I listen to 90% country music. Now, I will say, if I was unable to listen to that genre again, I'm transferring over to 80s rock. I'm entering the transfer portal, and I'm committing to the 80s rock crowd.
Wow.
That's music that I've always loved. I always said that if I could go back and live in any other era, it would be the 1980s because of the music. What is y'all's favorite music? I don't think we've ever had this conversation.
I don't really particularly have a favorite music genre. If I had to choose one, it would probably just be the general rock music genre, but not just specifically any type of rock or anything. But if I had to get rid of one that I'd say was my favorite, it would probably be rock, and I would be okay with that because I do listen to a lot of different music, so I would be okay with it.
Cassie?
I mean, I'm with you. The majority of the music I listen to is country music, but I do have lots of mood changes, so every now and then, like, I'll listen to, like, 80s rock or, like, I don't know, something else, but the majority I do listen to country.
All right, so look, I got to get this one in before we go to break. Nookie put this one in the chat, and he said, this is going back to OTB and how the morning chat treats me. It can be a little distasteful at times. Nookie says, what if we were actually nice to Taylor? Well, I got to tell you, my life would be a whole lot better, right? I would come to work and actually enjoy the interaction. No, I'm kidding. I love coming to work, and I like the bit. It's fun. I like to play along with it. It's so funny. One of my wife's relatives was like, man, you and T-Bob really hate each other, huh? I mean, that must be tough on the morning show. And it's so funny because I was like, well, if you ask me, who do I fight with the most out of everyone on OTB? It would easily be T-Bob Hebert. And if you also asked me, who do I get along with the best on OTB? It would also be T-Bob Hebert. It's a great working relationship, and it's all in good fun. I love it. I don't get too much in my feels. I like to go along with it. So, but yeah, Nookie, if you want to be nice, by all means, do it. I'm not gonna turn you away. All right, look, that's going to do it for What If Wednesday. We got about 20 or so minutes left with you. We got 2 more segments. We'll come back. Want to mention some NBA news because something pretty big happened right before we came on air. Wanted to mention that, and we'll get into a little bit more. That's all coming up here on the Hunt Palmer Show, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
You are now listening to the Hunt Palmer Show.
One Bath and Closets, onebathandclosets.com. David Duvall and his team, 30 years redesigning and remodeling bathrooms and closets. There are a lot of people who are not over the moon with their current home. Well, you can improve where you live. One Bath and Closets is happy to help you do that. Brand new customized closet, brand new bathroom, soup to nuts. They do the entire thing for you. You don't have to call 3 different contractors to get this entire thing done. No, you make one call to One Bath and Closets. They handle the entirety of it. Maybe you're not looking for something that extensive. Maybe you're looking for something like a tub to shower conversion. They can do that as well. You don't ever use that tub. They can take it out, put a glass walk-in shower in, changes the look of your bathroom, changes the functionality of your bathroom, adds value to your home. So if down the road you're looking to move on, that's an asset that you've got right there under your roof. If you're worried about paying for it, financing options are very much available for the folks over at One Bath and Closets. It starts with a free consultation, a questionnaire, and then a plan. They get it done and they do it right the first time and leave the competition behind. It's One Bath and Closets. You can check them out online at onebathandclosets.com.
In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
Power up your next project with John Deere Deals by Sunshine. Whether you're working hard or playing hard, Our knowledgeable team will help you find the right product for you. Ask us about our amazing tractor package promotions. Learn more about what it means to be powered by sunshine at sunequip.com.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
BRAC teamed up to reimagine your parks, and you imagined big. With your help, we went to work, creating 12 beautiful community parks across the parish. A family-sized water park, miles and miles of trails, and parks just for your dogs. There are more places to splash, to explore, to run wild, and even soar. You imagined, we delivered. Gold. BRAC, your #1 park system in the nation.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs, even in the case of an after-hours emergency. The light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. For years, you've heard me tell you about Insurance Network of Louisiana, helping you find better coverage for less money. But it's not just for your home and auto. They also offer commercial property. So, retail stores, professional offices like doctors, dentists, attorneys, clothing boutiques. Insurance Network of Louisiana can find you better coverage for less money. They service the entire state of Louisiana, and they're local. So call today. Moscona inviting you to join us for Wednesday's Hump Day AFR, presented by Pluckers. We'll recap Pels, Lakers in the play-in, LSU, UNO from the box, and we'll follow LSU with the latest portal news. Join us 3 to 6, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
You're listening to the Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Welcome back into the Hunt Palmer Show. About 20 minutes left with you. And, this is something that news broke about 10-15 minutes before we actually came on air here around 12:45. It was something that, I talked about when I was filling in on OTB 2 weeks ago about Jontay Porter, and he was found out they believed at the time he bet on his own NBA games, meaning he took the under in his games and he could have possibly had an outcome negatively impacting his team. Well, turns out it seems like that had some legs because the NBA has informed the Toronto Raptors that their reserve, Jontay Porter, has received a lifetime ban from the NBA due to betting on games while playing. So if you remember, this stemmed from, there were 2 games in about a month period. The first one, he left the game after 4 minutes because he said he had an eye injury. And then the next game, he played less than 10 minutes. He left that game early due to what was just called an illness. He just said he was sick. He couldn't play. Over $80,000 in bets were placed on the Jontay Porter unders. They were same-game parlays bet. They featured the under on Porter's statistics. That $80,000 same-game parlay would have paid out $1.1 million. And again, he played just 3 minutes before leaving with an illness and an injury. There's also reports, Adrian Wojnarowski tweeted it out, that he actually bet on the Raptors to lose a couple games that he was playing in. So, I mean, this is point shaving. This is your traditional, hey, he did this. It's black and white. Here it is. He has received a lifetime ban. It says that he placed at least 13 bets on NBA games. The bets range anywhere from $15 to $22,000. It says the total payout from those bets was $76,059, and his net winnings was about $21,000. It says that none of the other bets involved any in which like Porter was not playing in. So like all the games he bet on, he was playing in these games or took himself out early to get that advantage in terms of betting. So he has received a lifetime ban from the NBA. I guess that's what happens when your name is not Shohei Ohtani. But anyways, I wanted to mention that because so often recently we've seen this with players, whether it's college players. We saw it with Iowa and Iowa State last year in football. They had a scandal where it was like, hey, are these guys participating and betting in games that they are playing in? We obviously know the Shohei Ohtani situation. The Alabama baseball coach from a year ago, he got fired due to it. And a lot of people have pushed back and said, well, this is what happens when you have sponsorships with betting apps and sports books and everything, and you're the league. And I get that to an extent, but this has always been a rule. You have never been allowed to sports bet, whether before you were partnered with whatever sports book you're partnered with or after. It's not like it was a new rule that they put in play. It's not like the hip drop tackle where you got to think about it and be like, hey, is this legal? Can I or can I not do this? This has never been the case. Go back to Pete Rose. Nobody had any DraftKings, FanDuel, ESPN Bet, whatever you want to call it. Nobody had deals with teams back then, and Pete Rose was still got accused of that. I mean, and still got in trouble. This is not something new. This is not a new rule that, hey, we're partnered with this sports book, so make sure you don't gamble. Remember, it's new in the player handbook this year. It's something that's never been allowed, so I always push back on that. And look, it's unfortunate for the Toronto Raptors. They're at the headline of ESPN due to all the wrong reasons because Jontay Porter decided to do something illegal. And to mention his brother, Michael Porter Jr., he was not mentioned in any of these allegations. So it sounds like he is in the clear. He did nothing wrong because I imagine if he did, we would have heard about it by now. But want to kind of segue from NBA over to the NFL. And Stephen Jones, the vice president of the Dallas Cowboys, they have not done anything in free agency so far. They have spent under $6 million total. They signed Jordan Lewis, and they brought in linebacker Eric Kendricks. Now, when Stephen Jones was asked, hey, why have you not signed any free agents or big-name guys? He said, look, we spend max money year in and year out. All 32 teams, we can only spend the same amount of money over a 5-year stretch. When we're all said and done, we will have maxed out our salary cap every single year. And what we want to do is focus on signing our own guys, bringing them back. He said it doesn't happen overnight, whether it's players like Dak, Micah Parsons, or CeeDee Lamb. He said, certainly you have to hold money back if you want to have a realistic chance of signing those guys. Sure, I get that. Here's the problem that I have, and here's where I think Stephen Jones is completely full of crap, for lack of a better term. You lose Tyron Smith, your starting left tackle. Tyler Biadasz, your starting center, he's gone. Tony Pollard's gone. You let Dalton Schultz walk in free agency last year. Dorrance Armstrong, your starting defensive lineman, he's gone. It's because you didn't want to pay any of these guys. And you could say, well, you know, those guys aren't exactly centerpieces, even though I thought Tyron Smith and Tyler Biadasz were excellent on this offensive line. You gotta worry about your main guys. That's fine. CeeDee Lamb and Micah Parsons did not report for voluntary workouts. Why? Because they're both on the last year of their deal and they want new contracts. Dak Prescott, we know his situation. He can't be franchise tagged anymore. He's set to be an unrestricted free agent after this year if you don't re-sign it. Now, you've heard me mention a bunch of times, I don't want the Cowboys to re-sign Dak. I don't think he's worth the $53 million. But you let all of these players already go. You don't bring anybody new and you say, well, it's because we want to re-sign our own guys. You haven't re-signed any of them yet. Where's your money going? Who are you waiting to pay? If you remember, halfway through the season, they restructured the deal for Zach Martin. And that was a big deal. He's one of the best guards in the NFL. But it was like pulling teeth to do that. I mean, they didn't want to do that. They almost let him walk. That's 3 starting offensive linemen that you really didn't want to pay. You wound up paying Zach Martin. Clearly you didn't want to. Your quarterback's not under contract after this year. Micah Parsons, you can franchise tag. CeeDee Lamb's on the last year of his rookie deal, who can be franchise tagged as well. But after that, what long-term extensions have you worked towards in signing any of those guys? And you can say, well, maybe they don't have the cap room. They got $8 million in salary cap right now. That's not counting the current contracts that Lamb, Parsons, and Dak are under, and they still haven't signed anyone. You did nothing. And your competition's getting better. The Eagles just re-signed Devontae Smith. They gave him an extension. A $75 million contract, $51 million guaranteed. You also upgraded at the running back position. Got rid of DeAndre Swift. You signed Saquon Barkley. We've seen what Washington's done. Dan Quinn, you got a new head coach. You're going to draft either Jaden Daniels or Drake May, so you got to assume they're going to upgrade at the quarterback position from Sam Howell. You bring in Austin Eckler to replace Antonio Gibson, so a huge upgrade there at the running back position. You're not bringing back any of your players. You're not bringing in any outside players. You're not restructuring the contracts of your stars that are currently on the team, and everyone else in your division is getting better. The New York Giants have a top 10 pick. They're going to add a big-time playmaker. Everyone in your division is getting better, and Jerry Jones and Stephen Jones are just going to sit back and say, hey, this is what we've always done, and it's worked for us. And the fact that I'm 27 years old and have never seen a Dallas Cowboys Super Bowl appearance says that it has not always worked. They do have to try something different, but I have little faith that they're going to do that, and you can see why right here. None of these players, and it's not just Devontae Smith. You're going to say, oh, well, you're being reactive because the Eagles re-signed Devontae Smith. Tyreek Hill got a new deal. Devontae Adams signed a new deal a couple years ago. We know about Cooper Kupp, A.J. Brown. All these guys are making north of $25 million. CeeDee Lamb is set to make about $17 million next year. And you have no plans, or you haven't made any progress in terms of re-signing him to a long-term deal and getting him the money that he deserves. So keep doing you, Jones family, whether it's Jerry or Steven, whoever's calling the shots nowadays in Dallas. It's a bleak outlook over there for the Cowboys. Now, I'm sure most of you are listening or cheering and smiling and laughing, and I completely understand. I would be doing the exact same thing if I was in your position. All right, look, we're going to take a timeout. We're going to come back. We're going to close out this show like we do every day with a little bit of Take It or Leave It. That's coming up next here on the Hunt Palmer Show, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
You are now listening to the Hunt Palmer Show.
ESPN Bet, ready to take you through all the huge sports moments this spring, and there are a lot of huge sports moments this spring. You know about hoops, baseball's fired up, there's golf, all of it. It's on the exclusive sportsbook of ESPN. You got exclusive offers and promotions from Scott Van Pelt, Stephen A. Smith. There is no better time to be a sports fan than the spring. If you want to place some bets, it's so easy to do. Sign up today. New users get $100 in bonus bets for making any sportsbook bet. So all you got to do is download the ESPN Bet app, put any amount of money in there. I did $5 when I did my first one. Bet it on a basketball game tonight. You do that, $100 shows up right into your account that you can use to bet at your discretion. Download ESPN Bet today. What a play. Got to be 21 or older? Got a gambling problem? Call 1-800-522-4700 in partnership with LeBaires Lake Charles. Terms and conditions apply. See app for details.
Our listeners fire off their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Yo, Jake here from my friends over at Community Steel Company located in Gonzales, Louisiana. The local place you can turn to for all of your metal building needs. Notice I said local, not Houston, not Dallas, not Atlanta, but right here in Gonzales. Visit them at their brand new state-of-the-art website at communitysteelco.com or pick up the phone and give them a call today to answer all of your questions on your metal buildings, roofing and sheet metal, and any other steel needs you or your business need at 225-647-2020.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Jerry and Benny Payne began Central Plumbing Company out of their driveway in Tanglewood subdivision. 50 years later and 4 generations down the road, we continue to serve Baton Rouge and the surrounding areas for all of their plumbing needs. Residential, commercial, industrial, or hospitality, Central Plumbing is here 24/7, 365.
We want to thank our customers, family, and friends for 50 years of success.
And looking forward to 50 more.
Power up your next project with John Deere Deals by Sunshine. Whether you're working hard or playing hard, our knowledgeable team will help you find the right product for you. Ask us about our amazing tractor package promotions. Learn more about what it means to be powered by sunshine at sunequip.com.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that.
The Bench with Jacob Hester and T-Bob Hebert. Mornings from 7 to 10 on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Live After 5 is back this spring. Clock Out and Rock Out with us Fridays from April 12th through May 24th in downtown Baton Rouge for the free concert series, 5 p.m. to 8 p.m. Join us for another season filled with incredible music, delicious food, talented artists, and a lively second line parade. This Friday, come out to see Kenny Neal for Live After 5.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
All right, welcome back into the final segment of the Hunt Palmer Show. We only have a few minutes to go here, so let's get it started, wrap things up here with a little bit of take it or leave it. Jacob Beck, take it away.
All right, first one here. The Kings beat the Warriors 118-90-94 last night in a game that was not really ever close. Klay Thompson was 0 for 10 and is now an unrestricted free agent. Steve Kerr and some other guys, Steph Curry, all said they would like to have him back. He will be back with the Warriors next season. Take it or leave it.
I'm going to leave this one. I understand that Kerr says, well, we want him back. He's a big part of this team. Look, halfway through the season, they took him out of the starting lineup. He was coming off the bench for this team. He's just been way too inconsistent, and I get it. They're going to try everything they can to bring him back. I don't know if they're going to be willing to pay him the kind of money that he's going to want. This is going to be his last chance to get paid in the NBA because he is getting up there in age, and I don't think the Warriors have that in them. I don't think that they're going to pay him, and I don't think they should pay him. So no, I'm gonna leave that.
Deshaun Watson is now throwing at full speed again as he recovers from his injury. Watson will be a top 10 quarterback next season. Take it or leave it.
I am leaving that harder than I've ever left anything in my life. So let's not forget the fact that the Cleveland Browns were a lot better without Deshaun Watson than they were with him. In his basically one full season starting, he has more interceptions than touchdowns, and he has a losing record as the starting quarterback. Look, I get it. You gave him this massive, fully guaranteed contract that other teams in the NFL hated, by the way, because you set an unrealistic precedent. That contract was a failure. I'm ready to call it now. Look, he has not been the same player that he was 3-4 years ago. I mean, he had the injury, which sidelined him. Then he had the off-the-field issues, which he went on the exempt list. He didn't play for that entire year. It was almost 2 full seasons that he hadn't played football when the Cleveland Browns brought him in. He missed most of the first season, and then last year he plays, and then when he goes down, you bring in Joe Flacco, you're a better team without him. You wind up getting into the playoffs and making a little bit of noise in the playoffs. I'm leaving that. I think his days of being a top 10 quarterback are behind him.
I agree with you, but however, like you said, I think that even though he won't be a top 10, I think that the Browns will still be a playoff team because they made it with Joe Flacco playing quarterback.
Well, they had the number one defense in every single category last year. Yeah, they'll still make the playoffs. It ain't going to be because of Deshaun Watson. Nick Chubb's going to be fully healthy. They're still going to use Jerome Ford. I think that's the way to go. All right, look, that's going to wrap things up for us here on a Wednesday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show. To kick off the show, I gave my thoughts on the Pelicans Lakers. The Lakers do beat the Pelicans to clinch that 7th seed. You got one more shot if you're the Pelicans, though, Friday against the Sacramento Kings, but you're going to do it without Zion Williamson, who will miss that game with a hamstring injury. Then we were joined by Koki Riley, kind of gauge the temperature of this LSU baseball program, get his thoughts on the outlook of the remainder of this season as far as SEC play goes. We were joined by Preston Guy of TigerBay.com. We got his thoughts on the spring game, what he thought of the madness that is the NCAA transfer portal. And then at 2 o'clock, Logan Graffia of WLAE TV. He hopped on to talk a little New Orleans Saints. Obviously, we did some What If Wednesday and then wrap things up just now with some Take It or Leave It. Thanks to Jacob Beck on audio, Cassie on video. Hunt Palmer will be back tomorrow in the host chair. 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there.